I mean, all types of violence, and this is, I think, very important, because when we think of violence, we only think of violence in the sense of physical violence, and this is really like only one type of violence. We also have physical violence, economic violence. We have psychological violence, which is not very much talked about or is not considered to be an issue. But this is also economic violence, psychological violence. These are two types of violence that are also punishable or sanctioned with the criminal code of Kosovo. So. Of course, I mean, all these types of violence, women are kind of like faced with, but the one that gets most reported is the physical violence. And women and also men and everyone in our society should be aware that nobody has the right to exercise any type of violence, be it physical, psychological, economic, or any sort of violence towards another person, and in this case especially towards women. So I think it's very important to understand that also when you do psychological violence towards women or towards a person, this is also a crime. It should be reported. Definitely, it should be reported to the police, and of course, there are measures that will be undertaken by the police, and then prosecution and the courts will decide on the case. I talked earlier about this lack of trust in the institutions generally, and this comes because police, in a lot of cases, we have stories of women that their cases were not treated with professionalism, not with the highest seriousness. There are issues with confidentiality of these women, and then also the prosecution and the courts, when they decide, they are not deciding based on the criminal code. They usually give very low sentences, or only perpetrators get fines. So we've seen a lot of these cases where in the cases of domestic violence, we had very low sentences towards perpetrators, and in some cases where women got actually murdered by their male partners, they had a history of reported cases to the police, and then they ended really very tragically because the security institutions and justice institutions didn't do their job properly. But again, this is not to say that women should not report. Definitely women should report, because I think the more reporting of violence that happens within these private spaces, but also public spaces, will prevent the future cases and will prevent the violence generally.